Hi, Gary here. Risk. Certainly folks who owned homes during Hurricane Sandy on the East Coast and those recently in August in Napa Valley learned, unhappily, that they weren't covered for flood or for earthquake damage. And some of those risks in that property and casualty area where you really want to make sure you're covered for all of those things. And those are pretty clear risks. We can walk down the line and look at disability and death and many of these other areas, looking at the risks that are involved with our money. So one of the questions or risks we get asked about most often is, what's the risk of telling my children or heirs, grandchildren, about my money? I think that risk that we feel in this area comes down to a couple things. We don't want our children or grandchildren to become trust fund babies or ne'er-do-wells or entitlement on feeling like they're owed this money and so forth. I think it really strikes fear in our heart about what's going to happen here if they find out the depth and breadth of our estate, of all these monies we have in these various places. Now, as we found out there, it's all about communication, and some of you have already struck out a path in that direction and been able to do that successfully. But I believe for most of us, we're really concerned about those issues I just brought up, and how do we go about doing that? So let's look at the real world right now. What do we see out there? Well, what we see a lot of parents or grandparents doing is they're helping children buy homes, helping them buy businesses. They're gifting monies into college plans, 529 plans, and other kinds of college funding programs. They're helping pay for certain expenses, and many of you are also giving direct gifts. You can do $13,000 or $14,000 per year per person in gifts, and we see many of that happening. So that's kind of already occurring to a variety of degrees. And we're talking about stepping out a little further on that ledge to say, can we help mitigate this risk further? So what do we see happening out there that folks try out? Well, number one is bringing in the estate planning attorney or financial advisor and walking through with the children your estate plan. Here's what it's all about. Here's what happens when mom dies or dad dies. Number two, having the children or grandchildren receive annual statements of investments or quarterly statements as necessary in a small way and maybe a larger way to help them get and understand what's going on. Number three, coordinating their estate plan. We have found that some of our clients' children have become very successful and very wealthy, and when the parents coordinate with the children, they say, hey, I don't want any of your money, can you pass it along to the grandchildren? And there's some estate planning tools that are used that really will save 50% of this money from taxes. It's a huge deal. And there's other issues involved with that coordinative effort. So we got these three areas, plus these are the major areas, but there's other areas as well to look at. How do we go about doing that? I mean, it just starts out small, one step at a time and trying it out to get comfortable that we don't have our worst fears happen. That our family members start to turn into, hey, what's in it for me? More of trying to make sure we're all going together. And I think it comes down to many times of you're sharing your values, what's most important to you, along with this estate plan, along with these monies. There's an attachment to this, and I think that's the important part. And we have found a lot of the children and grandchildren really are looking for that. They want to go their own way. They want to be able to make their own way in the world. And they recognize, though, the real world is going to be a lot of assets necessarily coming to them, so how do they deal with that and understand that and help them deal with their own monies as they move along? There's nothing worse that one of the parents dies, say the husband, and here's the wife, the mother, struggling out there trying to figure this stuff out. And that's when the children start to jump in and they really don't know what to do. It really makes it difficult for them to help out dealing with these issues. So being proactive and addressing this stuff early on can be rather important for many of you out there when you're looking at how do I move my assets along, both obviously through the estate plan, but really through your own family plan, how this works for you and all the children or grandchildren or other heirs that you have that you're trying to bring this along to them. Now, I'm bringing all this up because we have National Estate Planning Awareness Week, which is October 20th through 26th. And the post from last week and this post basically talking about estate planning issues, that you can kind of take a look at your estate plan, make sure it's up to date. If you need help, go see your estate planning attorney or your other trusted advisors, financial advisor, whoever it is, to make sure everything's in order. Things do change out there, laws change, your situation changes, and it's certainly important to make sure it's on track where you want it to go. So until next time, enjoy.